It's 7:10 a.m. on June 6, 1944. Lieutenant Colonel James Earl Rudder, leader of the 2nd Ranger Battalion, stares up at the wet, towering cliff face of Pointe du Hoc. Grenades begin to rain down from above. Dirt and dust explode on all sides. A voice cuts through the chaos. "Colonel, the ropes are useless. They're soaked and too heavy to use." Another ranger shouts, "Sir, what do we do now?" Rudder's mind flashes back 5 months to a dusty briefing room in London. An officer pointed to a map. "We rearranging a multi-pronged attack to take Normandy and finally put a dent in the German-ass fortress Europe. But the Germans have something problematic. On top of a 100-foot cliff at Pointe du Hoc were 6 French 155mm cannons with a range of over 20,000 yards, the officer continued. If those cannons remain in play, they'll inflict massive losses on our troops at both Omaha and Utah beaches. The plan was laid out. Land at the base of the cliffs, scale them, and destroy the guns. The position was defended by 200 Germans, barbed wire, and minefields. "We need you to destroy those guns and hold the point until reinforcements arrive. It's likely to be the most difficult mission of your career." Now, on D-Day, that difficult mission has become a desperate one. Earlier that morning, hundreds of Rangers from the 2nd and 5th Battalions had boarded their landing craft. As they neared the French coast, the force split. Lieutenant Colonel Schneider and the 5th Battalion held back, waiting for Rudder's signal to land and provide support. But almost immediately, things went wrong. The weather was on the German side. A strong easterly current began pushing Rudder's small fleet of landing craft off course. 4-foot waves slammed against the boats. One overloaded craft swamped and sank, its crew struggling in the cold water. Then another, this one packed with supplies, went down. Only one man was rescued. In less than half an hour, all the Ranger supplies and a portion of their men were at the bottom of the English Channel. As the shore finally came into view, it was shrouded in a smokescreen laid by Allied planes. It offered some protection, but it also blinded them. When the smoke cleared, Rudder realized they were in the wrong place. The currents pushed us off course. We're too far east. "Pilot, get us over there." As they corrected their course, they motored parallel to the shore, right under the German guns. "Stay under cover and prepare for enemy fire." The Germans, who had been watching the small boats battle the waves, finally opened up. At 300 meters, the order was given. "Fire!" The air filled with the shriek of mortar and the chatter of machine guns. A 20mm shell tore through a DUKW amphibious vehicle, sending it to the depths. The remaining landing craft finally ground into the shingle at the base of the cliff. As the ramps dropped, the Rangers were met with a relentless storm of gunfire. The DUKWs, carrying long ladders requisitioned from the London Fire Brigade, struggled to get ashore, but the cratered, sandy beach was too much for them. They became stuck. "Everybody out. Make your way across the beach and watch for enemy fire. Move it, move it, move it." The Rangers fired rockets, hoping to lodge grappling ropes at the top of the cliff, but the wet ropes were too heavy. Most fell short. A few German soldiers brazenly stepped to the edge of the cliff, firing down with rifles and submachine guns. Ranger Leonard Lomel raised his Browning automatic rifle. "Time to even the odds. Boys," he unleashed a burst of fire, forcing the Germans back into cover. This gave the Rangers the precious seconds they needed to reach the relative safety of the cliff base. Out at sea, Colonel Schneider waited for a signal that would never come. He knew nothing of the currents, the sinking boats, the 40-minute delay. "Anything from Rudder?" he asked. "Nothing, sir." "Damn it. Okay, head for Omaha. We'll land with the 116th Infantry and fight our way to the Pointe." Rudder and his men were on their own. Back at the Pointe, a German potato masher grenade landed at the feet of a Ranger. Rudder, seeing the danger, snatched it and hurled it away just before it detonated. He was trying to figure out what to do next when a Ranger yelled, "Colonel, the ropes are useless." Just then, a nearby grenade blast left him with a mild concussion, his ears ringing. For a moment, it seemed hopeless. Then, Help came from an unexpected quarter. Allied destroyers far out at sea began to shell the cliff top. The naval bombardment forced the Germans back from the edge, buying the Rangers critical time. As the dust and smoke from the explosions settled, Rudder saw it. The shelling had dislodged tons of rock and soil, creating a massive pile of debris at the base of the cliff. It wasn't a ramp, but it was a start. Determination filled his eyes. Get the ladders. Under a hail of fire, the Rangers worked together, assembling 3 16-foot sections of ladder. It was just enough. Technician 5th grade George Putzik scrambled up and became the first Ranger to set foot on top of Pointe du Hoc. Within minutes, the rest of the Rangers followed, scaling the final 60 feet of the cliff. Now, Rudder said, let's get those guns. The Rangers fanned out, clearing trenches and craters. They took heavy losses, but as experienced shock troops, they gained the upper hand. During a sprint for cover, Rudder felt a sharp pain and realized he'd been shot in the leg. How bad? A Ranger asked. I'm good, Rudder replied. Go on ahead. As Company D pushed toward the location of the gun emplacements, first, Sergeant Leonard Lommel made a sickening discovery. The massive concrete casemates were empty. The intelligence was wrong. Dummies, he yelled. The real guns aren't here. The Germans had replaced the real cannons with large wooden poles to fool Allied reconnaissance planes. They can't have moved them far, another Ranger said. Let's keep moving inland. Within 15 minutes of reaching the top, the Rangers had secured the main battery area. Colonel Rudder, wounded but resolute, set up a command post in a German bunker. His message to headquarters was grim. Located Pointe du Hoc. The point is secure. Need ammunition and reinforcements. Many casualties. The reply was even grimmer. No reinforcements available. Repeat, no reinforcements available. Damn it, Rudder muttered. We're on our own. He sent out patrols. Lommel and Staff Sergeant Jack Kuhn pushed inland, through the hedgerows of an orchard. About half a mile from the battery, they spotted them, hidden in a sunken lane, camouflaged and ready to fire on Utah Beach, were the 5 missing 155mm cannons. They were guarded, but the Germans were caught by surprise. Lommel and Kuhn used thermite grenades to melt the firing mechanisms of the huge guns, rendering them useless. The heavy cannons have all been disabled. The message went back. Thank God, Rudder said. Now we just have to hold this damn rock. As night filled, the Germans counterattacked. Just before midnight, the air was filled with whistles and shouts. The Germans charged, but the Rangers held firm and drove them back. This was just a probing attack, Rudder warned. They'll be back. An hour later, they were moving silently, God within 50 yards before being detected. Machine guns opened up, tracers crisscrossed overhead, and mortar rained down. Again, the Rangers held their ground. At 3 in the morning, the most violent attack began. Low on ammunition and battered by mortar, the Ranger line was finally overrun. Some men were captured, others were killed. Rudder, organizing the defense from his command post, managed to establish a new defensive line further back. By dawn on June 7th, only 90% of Rudder's original 225 men were still able to fight, but the ferocious defense had taken its toll on the Germans, and the expected morning attack never came. Finally, on June 8th, reinforcements from Omaha Beach arrived. Colonel Rudder had been wounded 3 times. Of the brave men of the 2nd Ranger Battalion who landed that day, 77 were killed and 152 were wounded. Today, a memorial stands at the edge of the cliff they conquered, honoring the incredible courage of the men who climbed Pointe du Hoc. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing for more stories of heroism and history.